So this is when people say that nutrients don't provide any benefit to microgreens, this is why I disagree. How's it going, everyone? CJ from On The Grow here, and today I'm going to be talking about an experiment that I'm going to be doing, testing out different nutrients versus just water, because there's been some questions around, do nutrients actually provide any benefit to the growth? We've done so many tests that I feel like the answer is yes, but I figured we'll go ahead and start doing a few tests to show how just water compares against adding some nutrients. So let's talk quickly about what we've got here. So we've got 4 trays of broccoli. These were all started at the same time. You can see the germination is a little mixed here. This tray over here is definitely way behind. This was, I believe, overwatered in the beginning, and it suffered because of that. But we're hoping that it can catch up through adding some nutrients. So we'll see about that. So every group is going to be different. So for our best tray over here, so the growth is best on this tray. So I'm going to make this tray our water group. The reason I'm doing that is I want to give water a little bit of a head start because I've seen how it performs against nutrients, and I know that nutrients will probably end up passing this, so I'm going to give it a bit of a head start here. The next tray over is going to be something new in our space. We actually tried basically like a worm casting tea. So what we did is I took 200 grams of worm castings, I put it into a mason jar, added some water, shook it up really well, let it sit for a little bit, and I poured that into a strainer and let the juices from it drip into a reservoir, and that reservoir is going to act as the compost tea for this nutrient solution. So this one again is just worm castings, and the growth is just a little bit behind this. I'd say this is our second best tray, so I'm going to be doing worm castings on it. For our third tray, again, this is just a little bit further behind everything else. I'm going to be doing ocean solution because ocean solution is just something that we've used in our space a lot. I know how it performs, I know that it crushes it, and I know that it's going to grow really well. So I'm going to put it at a slight disadvantage to hopefully let it beat everything. And lastly, this is a combination of both ocean solution and the worm castings in the way that I did it on the other one, which is that 200 grams, put in a mason jar, added water, stirred up, poured into a strainer, filtered through, and got all the juices out of it. And so this is a combination of both that ocean solution and the worm castings. The reason I did it on this one is because it's the furthest behind, and I'm hoping for a Hail Mary play here, that perhaps this tray will catch up somehow to everything else, which would be pretty extraordinary if it did. And I think that would be a pretty solid answer on whether or not nutrients actually provide any benefit. What I'm going to do now is actually something I wouldn't do if I was trying to grow this to sell this product, is I'm going to go ahead and introduce this to the light, and I'm going to go ahead and add nutrients to all of these. What I would do if I was trying to grow this to sell it is I would try to get these to germinate better. I'd probably leave them stacked for another day or two, leave some kind of weight on top. But to get this kind of test rolling here, it's already day 5 of this germination process. So I'm going to go ahead and just toss these straight into the light on this shelf right here and add their specified nutrients. I will give you guys an update day by day and talk about what's happening as we go along. So stay tuned for that. Today is day 14 of our broccoli nutrient test, and as you can see, I think that nutrients may play a factor in the overall growth. So let's start with a comparison. So starting over here, this is our water tray. Remember in the beginning, on day 5 of this grow, this tray had the best growth. This was ahead of everything, and it looked like it was going to win. So here's where it's at today. It looks pretty decent. We don't yet have true leaves. The cotyledons are pretty small, and it does have uniform growth, and it does look pretty good. On to our second tray. This is the worm castings. This is something we've never tried in this space before, and the results are honestly quite comparable. If you look right here, you can see that, I mean, there's not much difference. The cotyledons are slightly larger on the worm casting one than it is on just the filtered water. So it did provide a little bit of a benefit, it looks like. And remember too that this tray was a little bit behind on growth compared to the water one. So it looks like it actually caught up and perhaps even maybe beat it a little bit. Onto our third tray, which again was behind everything else. This is our ocean solution tray, and like I predicted, this just absolutely crushed it. The cotyledons are quite huge. They're a little bit lighter in color. That is something that I noticed. So maybe there is a slight nutrient deficiency there happening. Maybe a little bit more of magnesium or something like that could help to darken these up a little bit. But for actual growth and size, they are quite huge. I mean, let's just pull this one out of the way real quick and set this out of the way and set our water tray directly next to our nutrient added with the ocean solution. Okay, so when people say that nutrients don't provide any benefit, this is why I disagree. I mean, as you can see here clearly, this tray, whenever we showed it, I think that was about 8 days or so ago now, was actually quite a bit behind this tray, which was just our filtered water. This one had poor germination, and once we began to add the nutrients, these things just came to life and they began to grow very aggressively and grow quite large, and they're actually getting to the true leaf stage first, ahead of everything else. So this is why I disagree with people when they say that nutrients do not provide any kind of benefit to microgreens, that microgreens have all the nutrients they need. I agree, yes, they are able to grow. Like this tray was able to grow well. I'm not disagreeing with that. It does look nice. It is a nice tray of microgreens. But if I'm trying to get to a larger crop quicker, I'm going to add nutrients because it does provide benefit from all the tests that we've run. I mean, it obviously depends on what kind of nutrient you're using. As you can see in this test, there was kind of a mixed results with our worm castings. Maybe we didn't do it correctly. Maybe we didn't allow enough time for beneficial bacteria to become developed and create an organic little nutrient system. There's a lot of things that could have happened with the worm castings. But as for a nutrient that we've tested quite a few times on quite a few different varieties, this is showing to just absolutely crush just regular filtered water. So let me go ahead and set this over. Get our tray back here. And then if you guys will remember, our last tray was the one that was furthest behind. And honestly, I didn't think it was going to do too well because it was pretty terrible. But it has caught up quite a bit. And I'm actually curious to see if it is going to be able to beat the harvest weight on our just only water tray. Remember, this tray right here on the end had both worm castings and the ocean solution. And I think it's the ocean solution that really helped this thing get these cotyledons that are quite large. And something that I did notice too with the worm castings, if you come close, is that the everything is a little bit darker of a green compared to just the ocean solution. So maybe there's something there to combining these two for a little bit more coloration, a little bit more nutrients. So that definitely has me questioning, can we add something else to ocean solution to really make it more deeper in colors, richer in colors, and provide prettier hues? Because that is something we noticed with ocean solution. While it does provide this like amazingly aggressive growth, sometimes we begin to see faded colors. We're not seeing the beautiful coloration that we love. So a lot of information, but I think that this is a very good start to show that adding nutrients does provide a benefit. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these harvested. We'll compare weights. We'll talk about what worked and what did not work. So I'll see you here in just a moment. So we just finished harvesting all 4 of these trays, and I'm getting the giggles because we just did a very bad take, but it's okay. So for our harvest weights, we're going to start in the order that we did this. So for our, I'm pretending our imaginary trays are here. For our H2O group, just the plain filtered water, we had a total harvest weight of 258 grams. Again, this was only filtered water throughout the entire grow process from start to finish. For our next group, which would have been our worm castings, it was our second tray. That was a total harvest weight of 253 grams. So now remember, that one was a little bit behind in growth originally. So seeing it only 5 grams behind is pretty great. It did have great coloration on it as well. For our third tray, the ocean solution, what do you think the weight was? Do you think I doubled it, tripled it, quadrupled it? 10 times the amount of water? Well, it was nearly double the water group. So it was 433 total grams for the harvest weight on the ocean solution. And then for our last one, which again was just terrible. I can't believe it actually made it as far as it did because it germinated so poorly. it was at 262 grams. So our last tray with the ocean solution and the worm casting nutrients actually ended up beating our very first tray, the one that had the biggest head start on growth was our water group. It ended up beating it by about only 4 grams, but still, considering the fact that it was about 5 days behind on growth, is quite impressive. And it did have some great coloration on it. So let's talk about what the actual product looked like and tastes like. So these are again in the same order of all the trays. This is our water group. So I mean, it was honestly pretty good. The cotyledons are a little small. The coloration, we get a little bit of the purple in the stems that you get from broccoli, and overall it was just pretty average. For our next one, we actually had a great, beautiful purple coloration that we noticed, especially underneath the leaves. Like you can see on this one here, this just like super deep purple that happens underneath the leaves. That was from the worm compost group. For our third one, this is the ocean solution. It did not have as much beautiful coloration in the stems. I mean, you can see a little bit down here at the bottom, and there were a few that did have some of the purpling underneath the leaves, but overall it was a lot more muted than all the other colors, but it did have the largest cotyledon size of anything in the group and the tallest growth, which made it super easy to harvest. And then for our last one, as you can see, it was all over the place. There was some short ones, some tall ones, but the cool thing is we did get some cool coloration, I believe, from that worm castings underneath the stems, or the leaves rather, the cotyledons. I mean, just look at that deep purple underneath that cotyledon. Can you guys see that pretty good? Or it had some beautiful coloration, and that was the group that had both the ocean solution and the worm compost. So what worked and what didn't work? So honestly, everything worked in this test. The cool thing about water is, yes, it does provide good growth, but we find that you can just get better growth through adding nutrients. And there's honestly so many different types of nutrients that you can add that you can really create whatever kind of product that you want to create. There's so many different ways to get different types of coloration and tastes all within these different greens. Just because it's broccoli doesn't mean it's always gonna have the same exact appearance and the same exact taste whenever you grow it with different nutrients. There's so many things that can be affected by that, and also how you germinate them, how you control your climate. I mean, there's just a lot of different things you can do to affect your crop, and adding nutrients is one of those. So does nutrient affect growth? I would have to say, via this test, even though it was just ocean solution that really showed that it crushed it, I would say yes. What we'll be doing now is I'm going to start some more tests with some other nutrients that I know are a lot stronger. I'm going to do ocean solution again because it just does amazing. We're also going to bring back some Microgreens. That's something that we used in the past. It's a much stronger formula, and it's actually a synthetic, so it's not an organic one, but it still provides great growth and great taste. And then for the last one, what's something I can bring back? Farmer's Pride. I haven't done Farmer's Pride in a long time. That was something that we used to love using on our adult crops. When we used to grow them out when we lived in East Texas, we used to grow a lot of collards and things, and that was our hydroponic nutrient of choice. That and Maxi-Grow both just do really, really well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna begin another test. I'm probably gonna start this after the holiday is over though, so probably the first of the new year, because right now we're kind of winding down. We're gonna go spend a few days with family, and you know, this has been a lot of work doing everything that we've done, so we're just gonna take a little bit of a break for a few days, so those tests will begin as soon as this new year begins as well. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. If you dislike it, give us a thumbs down. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the section below, and we'd love to get those answered for you as soon as we possibly can. If you would like to subscribe, the button is right over here at some point, so please click that if you would like to see more experiments. I forgot what I was saying, but we're gonna leave it. And then lastly, our Instagram and our Facebook are both at On The Grow Farm, so you can see us there for fun content. Thanks so much, and have a great day.